I think there is a massive stigma surrounding diabetes in general. It's the name and shame illness.
I often find it a bit annoying when people are like overly positive about it, because I think it's a really rubbish thing to have.
And the problem is it can change the amount of stress, the amount of sleep you've had, the amount you eat, the amount you don't eat, recent illnesses, exercise.
I found a way to make my life work around this new diabetes thing, but I would like to imagine that people that feel like they can't do it because of a condition would see this and go, well, it's possible.
Through this film, that's what I wanted to change. I wanted to break the stigma of this idea that people with diabetes aren't able to do the same activities as someone without type 1 diabetes can do.
Being a climber already and then getting diabetes made it kind of easy to accept I was diabetic, because there were lots of positives that came with understanding what you're eating more, like just thinking a bit more about how you feel generally, which you might not have noticed if you weren't already learning to sense what your blood sugar's doing. It built up my interoceptions. My mum's diabetic as well, and she just seems to deal with it really well. She's quite a good role model, I suppose. Maybe if I'd seen her being angry about it when I was younger, I might sooner have got to the point where I'd be like, fucking diabetes. I imagine as I get older, maybe will change, you know, like say I have a foot amputated or something like that, or I lose my sight, then I might start to view it differently. But yeah, it just brought my attention to my diet and made me a bit less reckless. Disadvantages for climbing and controlling your diabetes. Maybe the main disadvantage is that there are lots of hormones involved with challenging, stressful situations. You've got no control over how they're going to arise. So you might do a route that you anticipate is going to be scary, so you're going to have a cortisol spike or whatever it is that occurs, but then you don't have that. Whereas other times, you might not necessarily expect that you're going to be stressed by the situation, but you are. So sometimes I take the injection expecting that glucose rise, but it doesn't always come. Ready? Life would be so easy if you didn't go climbing. You know, you'd get the grass cut and the decorating done. So then when you want to like use your days off to go climbing, you have to plan a lot and figure out how to make everything work whilst balancing a full-time job and kids.
When I broke my ankles on it, I split my tip and I got here and it was bleeding. And I was like, oh fuck, and I managed to nearly get there. And I remember being at the top and just feeling it like sliding in the blood. So I guess it just makes it feel like it's stressful.
Yeah, I like climbing because it just quietens everything down in my brain. Like all you can think about is the next few seconds of how you're going to move. I've only got enough attentional resources to think about exactly what I'm doing in that moment. And yeah, I'm not distracted by anything else or having to worry about anything else.
How much of your diabetes management is trial and error?
All of it, pretty much.
Okay, Jem, take it there.
So the difficulty with type 1 diabetes is often balancing the amount of insulin and the amount you eat. And the problem is it can change on a day-to-day basis. The amount of stress, the amount of sleep you've had, the amount you eat, the amount you don't eat, recent illnesses, exercise. So we always have to be reactive to our diabetes because we can't predict exactly what is going to happen. The more experience we have, the better we'll be able to predict it, but it is still a prediction. So as a GP, I usually try to engage patients in seeing that type 1, as well as being a condition that they've got to manage and is a tough thing to have, it's so important to manage it when you're young to reduce your risk of complications later on. Type 1 diabetes is usually a condition that comes on earlier in life when the body's not producing any insulin because of an autoimmune process where the body destroys the cells in the pancreas to produce it. We need insulin to be able to process the sugars that we absorb from our stomach when we eat, and that's what drags it into the muscles and the liver. And without the insulin, the blood sugars get higher and higher and higher, which means we're not getting energy where we need it, and those high blood sugars cause damage to various parts of the body. So we have to replace that insulin with injections or through insulin pumps, and that brings the sugars down, but it can also mean that we go hypo, which is why we have continuous glucose monitors attached to our arms to sense what the sugar is and predict these lows before they happen. I find exercise a great way of managing my blood sugars. Not everybody wants to run ultra marathons, I get that, but to do something that you enjoy is hugely important. For me, ultra running is everything when it comes to exercise, and that serves a purpose for my type 1, for my mental health, and also for me being able to do the ultra run later down the line. "268 miles is a stupid distance to race, and I could not have understood that as a 30-year-old, but as a 42-year-old I just crave it again. And that feeling, so uncomfortable, there's something that I love about it, putting myself into a position that is just not tolerable in any way makes me feel alive, I think.
Puncher, first pitch.
I think exercising on a day-to-day, that's good for your diabetes management. I think going and doing big alpine routes is bad for your diabetes management. I guess humans have maybe evolved to have a certain amount of stress, so by sort of artificially, deliberately putting yourself in a stressful situation, you're kind of satisfying something that's unsatisfied otherwise. I wouldn't say that's prescribed to everyone. I think that's just part of my character that needs to feel that raw experience, I guess. One challenge is you've got to carry all your medication and spare food, and you've got to have enough backups. With cold and altitude, there's the challenge of stuff either freezing or not working properly. So like when I've been to Alaska, I've had to keep my insulin on my body for a month. Yeah, that's not ideal. The hard thing is when it's cold but you're exercising, you might take quite a few layers off and then the actual sensor ends up being cold and won't work. It always seems to not work when you really don't want it to not work, but I end up kind of using it with a bit of a pinch of salt and then having to like finger prick test to double check.
There is indeed a summit. Unfortunately, it's about 2 million breaths away.
When I first started doing stuff outside, there wasn't as much information available anyway because you were just like finger prick testing and didn't have the same understanding, so it was just kind of trial and error. I guess once you've done something once and you're like, oh, that worked out all right, you might try and do something a bit more challenging and use your knowledge that you've gained of how your body reacts to certain things to then do something else.
Room with a view.
The goals wouldn't have been any bigger had I not been diabetic.
Extreme view.
I think it's important to recognise that it is really difficult. I often find it a bit annoying when people are like overly positive about it, because I think it's a really rubbish thing to have. Like I don't really talk about it that much with even my mates, how much thought is constantly going on. I mean, I guess it sort of goes beyond diabetes in doing sports, just like diabetes in life, like having the constant processing power being used up by it, which is getting easier with technology, but pretty draining at times.
I think there is a massive stigma surrounding diabetes in general. It's the name and shame illness. People make jokes about it, but making jokes about either type of diabetes is bad. Say if you ask like a lay person, what's the first few things that come into your head when you hear the word diabetes? I don't think they're going to say it's an insulin deficiency and that it's an autoimmune disease. Type 1 and type 2 are completely different. So I think it is very important to be an advocate for people to know about it. When you're going off for your activity, you're trying to plan for like several hours in advance because you're sort of thinking, okay, well, I'm going to go surfing in an hour. Well, what if I'm a bit too high before I start? Because then I'm just going to feel sick and I'm not going to be able to use the sugar that's there. And then you sort of go, okay, well, what if I'm too low when I start? And then what happens if I have a hypo halfway through my surfing session? How am I going to paddle back out when I'm feeling really weak? You can't really rely on technology when you're in the sea either, so you do have to learn to be quite self-aware of your body. Hasn't really got much better. In fact, it's probably gotten a bit worse since we've been here. Well, I think the wind's picked up, but I think the wind's gone a bit more southerly, so it's more cross-shore now. You can end up having a really good surf and you're just on bodyboards with your friends. You can just get absolutely thrashed about and it can be just as amazing as having like a really nice small longboarding wave. I think that's what I like about it.
The challenges of flying, it's not a given. Not anybody can just take a bag of nylon and string up a hill and fly in a thermal and go somewhere. That takes practice and skill. But when you get there, it's nice to be able to use that skill that's taken so long to learn, because it's the reward for the effort that you've put in. It's flying, isn't it? It's better than being on the ground.
How long have you guys known each other?
About 5 years.
Yeah.
Andy was a student of mine with the school that I work for. So Andy came down from the Lake District to finish off his paragliding qualification to become a solo pilot.
Since that point, really, that was how we met.
And then I kind of reached out a bit more recently because of the type 1 diagnosis, because I remember it being a shock to me that Andy was allowed to paraglide as a type 1. And then, interestingly, afterwards, I was like, I need to pick your brains, Andy, because I've got it now.
But one of the benefits of paragliding once you're in the air is that you don't have that constant draw on your blood sugar levels, and so if they're fairly stable, you can stay in that flow state and not get disrupted from highs and lows. And I think from the first flight I did, when I first felt the lift and the power that was in the lines, it hooked me, and you feel almost like you've been teleported into that location from the sky. That's always quite a unique feeling, really. I don't have an addictive personality, but I have found paragliding really addictive.
When you're in the air, you're happy with the flight you've just done. When you land, you're like, oh, how could I do that better next time?
Not all, but most paraglider pilots are quite analytic. You know, when they land, they want to understand what did they do well, maybe did they make a mistake, and can be quite reflective about that process, and whether they look at a track log or just think through the flight. And I think that type of critical thinking can be useful when thinking about your blood sugars.
From someone only a year into this, I've found a way to make my life work around this new diabetes thing. But I would like to imagine that people that feel like they can't do it because of a condition would see this and go, well, it's possible.
When I was growing up, the only other person I knew with type 1 diabetes was my mum. She never acted like she had any limitations with her diagnosis, so neither did I. There were definitely hurdles, but in terms of what I was able to do, I never felt limited. The coolest thing I found in making this film that I didn't expect was that I found a very unique community of people who not only shared my passions and the things I enjoyed, but also shared my challenges. Having a community is actually a really powerful tool in terms of your mindset towards controlling your type 1 diabetes.
Yeah, but if you eat insulin, it doesn't work.
Is it not?
No, because then why wouldn't we just have to eat insulin?
Because it tastes like shit. And it wouldn't. And it wouldn't go. I thought it was because it wouldn't go in fast. You can get inhalable insulin now.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But digestive system might be different though.
Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah, I wouldn't want to eat insulin. Should we do our jabs at the same time?
Yeah! How much are you giving? Cheers.
Cheers.
Oh!
Wow, so good.
How helpful is modern technology for your diabetes control? You touched on it a bit with the finger pricks, which forces you to be more introspective. But
I've got some jelly baby if you want some jelly baby. Handy.
Yeah, definitely the type 2 fun. I mean, I'm starting to get into type 3 fun though. I've left type 1 fun a long time ago.
One question I'm asking myself is why spend several £1,000s coming here when you can just put your head in a plastic bag?